Back on HQ, the Brooklyn Nets get their first win over the Chicago Bulls in 3 tries, and this one was emphatic. A 138-112 final. The game was decided in the third quarter when the Nets outscored the home team 39-19 to grab a 22-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and they coasted to the finish line in this one. Kevin Durant led them with 27 points. James Harden, you see the 25 points to go with 16 assists. How about Durant Sharp, the rookie, 20 points and 7 boards on a night that Kyrie Irving played but scored just 9 points on 4 of 10 from the floor. All right, let's get some insight on this one as the Nets run the Bulls off their own floor and again get their first win over Chicago this season in a battle of 1 versus 2 in the Eastern Conference. Let's bring in Bill Reiter, CBS Sports NBA insider. And Bill, when you watch this game, what did you learn when it was all said and done?
Yeah, Jim, this might be the best win of the year for the Brooklyn Nets. This is a really, really good Chicago Bulls team, a Bulls team that still feels they don't get the respect they deserve. So they throw everything they have every single night. They're a top 10 offense, they're a top 10 defense, they're top Eastern Conference standings. And that gear that you just referenced, that the Nets were able to flip in the fourth quarter, outside of the Warriors, and maybe exceeding the Warriors, no one in the NBA has that level the Nets can go to. And as you said, on a night where Kyrie was out there, he got minutes, but it's not like Kyrie Irving imposed his will. It is just a reminder that the ceiling for this Brooklyn team is terrifying for the rest of the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point you make with regards to going into this game, Bill. The Nets were 0-8 against the league's best teams. They got Kyrie back in the lineup for this game, and this was just the second time the big three played with each other. Don't forget, Harden wasn't on the floor in Portland. But with regards to the psychology of this, having Irving with them, how much does that mean with regards to the psychology of both Durant and Harden when they're competing against the league's best?
Yeah, Jim, it's a great question. I think you hit the nail on the head. And that's one of the things that struck me is that when you are competing against a team like the Brooklyn Nets, and all 3 of those guys are out there. Durant was Durant, which is to say he was awesome. Harden was really impressive, especially his distribution. Just the mere presence of Kyrie Irving, it is psychologically and tactically overwhelming. I mean, Irving didn't take many shots. I think it was 10. I think it was 4 of 10 or somewhere in that range. But his mere presence, the threat of what he can do, it is literally too much. And then other guys are contributing on top of those 3 guys. But you're right. When you have all 3 of those guys on the floor, even a team like the Chicago Bulls that are great normally defensively, that are one of the better defensive teams in the NBA, that compete every single time. It reminds me of those Miami Heat teams. Every single play they're going to compete. At the end of that game, they just look blown away and overwhelmed by the sheer talent of those 3 guys together.
So, Bill, along those lines, let's focus on the Bulls. They came into this matchup 2.5 games up on the Nets for the top spot in the East. They had beaten Brooklyn twice, yet as we mentioned, Irving had not played in either of those games. DeMar DeRozan has been perhaps the best offseason addition for any team in the league with regards to what he's done with that Chicago team this year. But from a confidence standpoint, what does a loss like this, an emphatic home loss like this at the hands of the Nets, do to a Bulls team when these 2 teams perhaps meet down the road?
It's a really good question. I think for the Nets, it's the bigger measuring stick for the reason you noted. They have not played well against top tier competition so far this year. It really depends for the Chicago Bulls on how those guys respond when the playoffs roll around and the playoff experience. Like Zach LaVine doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. DeMar DeRozan does. So if his voice can say to guys, every single playoff series in a best of 7 series, you're going to, unless you're sweeping a team, you're going to lose some, and sometimes you're going to lose some badly. If they can hang on to that, it's not a big deal. But you're right. The combination of the fact they got run off the floor, and again, not to repeat myself, but the overwhelming talent of the Brooklyn Nets, it does stay in the back of your head a little bit. And I think it'll be an interesting test for Chicago if they see the Nets in more important games or a playoff series down the road, whether or not they can just shake this off and play the way they did earlier in the season against these guys. Yeah,
you have to wonder how it's going to be for them moving forward following this loss. He's CBS Sports NBA insider Bill Reiter. Bill, we always appreciate the insight. All right, so this is what it looks like. The Nets gain a game on the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls now a game and a half up on Brooklyn for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. At 26-14 for Brooklyn, 27-12 for Chicago. You see the odds to win the conference. And again, the Nets have the best odds, despite the fact that they're second overall. And this has a lot to do with the fact that on this night, they showed they can flip the switch and be a different team when the stakes are at their highest.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.